of AV drilling and the outcome of the arbitration, she asked the question whether or not the Attorney General would have, if he threw the case, or if it is that he would have withheld evidence that would have been crucial, to the a better outcome of the matter in favor of Petrotrin. Now, the issue I have with that, two issues. One is this growing tendency or this new trend by the leader of the opposition to impugn the integrity of professionals in this country. Last week we saw it with the release that was put out, where it is that she criticized the CMO and his medical team, comprising Dr. Hines, Dr. Trotman, Dr. Abdul, accusing them of being willing participants, along with the state, in state-sponsored murder, to use her term. Now, if to me, that type of statement is an insult to these professionals who, as I made the point last week, have done far more to battle the COVID pandemic in this country in one day than the UNC and Kamla Prasad-Bissessar have done in the 15 or so months since we've started treating with this pandemic. But she took it a step further on Monday when she made the allegation or the imputation that somehow the Attorney General may have thrown the case or he would have withheld evidence. Now, for those of us who have been following the matter, we would know there's a prominent name and a prominent attorney representing Petrotrin in this matter, one Deborah Peake, senior counsel. And Deborah Peake would have earned silk. She didn't do like the leader of the opposition and give it to herself. She earned it by dint of hard work and by virtue of her legal prowess in the courthouse. If we were to compare the legal career of Deborah Peake and Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, is chalk and cheese. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar is not fit to carry Deborah Peake's briefcase. She's not even fit to serve as a paralegal in Deborah Peake's office to answer the phone. So far less to come and impugn improper motives, given the impression, because if it is that you are making the allegation or the imputation that the Attorney General threw the case or he withheld evidence, then it means that by extension, you're including Mrs. Peake and the other attorneys on Petrotrin's legal team in malfeasance in public office. And these are people who have worked years to build a professional reputation and have worked very hard. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar should be very well aware as to the legal abilities of Deborah Peake, because if my memory serves me correctly, she was one of the attorneys who would have represented the state with respect to the UNC's legal challenge of the election results of 2015, the election petition matter in which they got a good cocktail from the PNM. So it wasn't sufficient that they got a cocktail on September 7, 2015. They took the matter to court and got another cocktail and are still owing the PNM millions of dollars in legal fees from that matter, which they are yet to pay. But she found no problem in making that inference on Monday night about withholding of evidence. And if I were Mrs. Peake, I would certainly seek to sue Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, because she continues to put her foot in her mouth when she makes these things, to be impugning the integrity of consummate professionals in this country. But you see, I understand that Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, when it comes to the issue of withholding evidence, right? She's an eminent individual to speak on that matter, because if we recall, in another Petrotrin matter, that of the Malcolm Jones lawsuit, two of the attorneys whose opinions would have influenced or informed the decision by her administration to sue Malcolm Jones, those persons being QC Vincent Nelson, who turned state evidence on Anand Ramlogan and Gerald Ramdeen. By the way, I understand they were supposed to have appeared in court on Friday. I have seen nothing in the print media, nothing on the news with respect to what happened with that matter. Perhaps I missed it, but I've seen many people on social media asking the question, what happened with that matter? What was the outcome? So we wait to see. But coming back to the issue of the Malcolm Jones case, QC Nelson and senior counsel Russell Martino are both on public record as having said that the two witness statements, that of Mr. Chantak and Mr. Batiste, who were former Petrotrin board directors when Malcolm Jones were there, their witness statements, which were critical in the state's case, arbitration case between Petrotrin and WGTL, their testimonies would have been pivotal in the state being successful in that arbitration. For some reason, those two witness statements were withheld from Mr. Vincent and Martino in their being able to make a decision to inform the state or to advise the state whether or not to pursue Malcolm Jones. And we should all be familiar with those two witness statements because if you all recall, 2 years ago, UNC went all the way to the Privy Council to get those two witness statements. Remember that? Anand Ramlogan got on a plane and went all the way to the Privy Council, ended up before the Law Lords, and it was published that the Law Lords expressed discomfort with having Mr. Ramlogan in the courtroom, seeking to represent on that matter, given the fact that he was Attorney General when that whole matter would have taken place. But this month, around the 5th or the 6th of this month, made it 2 years since the UNC received those witness statements that they went all the way to the Privy Council to get, as some of you all would recall. Remember, they used their lackey, Ravi Balgobin Maharaj, the guy who sought to mock this guy, the highway reroute movement gentleman who went on the strike, the hunger strike, and then Balgobin Maharaj decided to mock him, and he wasn't able to last 1 day. And they went to the Privy Council and to seek judicial review so that the local courts could make a determination on whether or not they were qualified to get the witness statements. And Dr. Rowley, with the Attorney General, made a decision, you know what, this thing has gone far enough, give it to them. Faris Al-Rawi came on national television and he made the point prior to the intervention of the Prime Minister that he has the witness statements and he would be more than happy to give it to the opposition because it would prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the decision by this government to cease pursuing that matter against Malcolm Jones was not political. And the UNC said it was. And they hitched their wagon to those two statements to prove that the decision to discontinue the matter against Malcolm Jones was political. 2 years now, they have received those documents, those two witness statements. We have heard nothing further from the UNC on that matter. They have gone completely silent. And I would want to ask some of their followers, their activists, their mouthpieces, like Central, Mr. Pinal, Kingsley, Garth Christopher, and others, tell us now, how come 2 years later, we are yet to hear anything on those two witness statements that would prove that it was, as you all said, a political decision, that the government did a favor for the boy Malcolm Jones by discontinuing that matter. But as I said before, Russell Martino and the QC Vincent Nelson said they never received those two witness statements when they were asked to advise the state on whether or not pursuing a matter against Malcolm Jones would be successful. And had they received those two witness statements from the state, from Petrotrin, their advice to the state as to whether or not they should pursue Malcolm Jones would have been different. They would have told them, no, let us not pursue this because Malcolm Jones had a very good chance of winning the case. It was only after the PP demitted office and Faris Al-Rawi became Attorney General. It was only thereafter that these two gentlemen would have caught sight of these witness statements and indicated, had we received it before, our advice to the People's Partnership government would have been different. So to hear Kamla Prasad Bisasa mount a platform and talk about throwing the case and withholding evidence, as I said before, you see, she could talk that talk because her current Attorney General is accused of that. Hence the reason he's now before the courts. But I heard Mr. Pinal on Thursday on this station, and he's been making the rounds at other stations, as he's often wont to do when he thinks that he has a solid point to make, asking the question whether or not the Attorney General couldn't have assumed himself into the matter, if he couldn't have given some kind of advice, or if it is that he couldn't have intervened in the arbitration, right? Now, Mrs. Prasad Bisasa I guess, shame on her face. Notice they've been very quiet on this matter, other than to try and see how they could spin to put the blame on the Attorney General, right? Accusing the Attorney General of this, that, the other, and the next. And Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, her successor as Attorney General and lawyer for AV drilling, came out and rebuked her, called her out on her foolishness to make the point that she ought to have known better, having sat in the chair of Attorney General, and she should know how the thing works. Right? He called her out on her foolishness. But I see Mr. Pinal trying to spin, as somebody told me, you know, perhaps Mr. Pinal should be playing on the West Indies team, because he seems to be, well, a very good spinner. Very good. But not if he come up against me, you see? So I will, and I hear him on all the stations talking about nobody is answering the question as to whether or not the Attorney General could have intervened. Well, let me answer Mr. Pinal this morning. If nobody else wants to answer you, I will. And I will do so by allowing the Attorney General to answer you directly through a Newsday article from 2019, where he would have responded to a similar question with respect to his ability to intervene in the matter involving Malcolm Jones. And this is an article from the Newsday dated Friday, the 7th of June, 2019. And it's entitled, AG, I have Malcolm Jones' statements. And it reads, Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi says he has obtained the statements related to the Malcolm Jones case. He was responding to a question yesterday from Naparima MP Rodney Charles on why government had not fulfilled the May 23rd promise by the Prime Minister to release documents relating to the state's decision to drop its multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Jones, former Petrotrin executive chairman. So understand, they so had interest in these two witness statements, so convinced were they, or that they wanted us to believe that these two witness statements would have proven that the decision to drop the Malcolm Jones case was political, that Rodney Charles decided to ask a question in the Parliament. So he wanted to know, well, the Prime Minister say on the 23rd of May that he was going to release the documents to the UNC. After you received it, how come you didn't come back to the Parliament, Mr. Charles? How come you didn't call a press conference, a Sunday morning press conference like you all have been doing for the last few Sundays, to talk about this, to say, we get the witness statements. You see, this is what we were telling all you, look, proof here. How come? How come Anand Ram Logan didn't hold a press conference to reveal the real, as Dane used to say, with respect to these two witness statements, to prove your case? Because then the UNC don't lie according to the triple man. You all don't lie. How come to this day, 2 years later, we're still waiting? We're still waiting. You all could have used that. Why didn't you use it in the 2020 general election campaign? That should have been a smoking gun. That would have been an excellent platform issue to deal with. To say, you see, look how the government lied. Billions of dollars the state could have gotten back, but look the witness statements here to prove. How come you all didn't mention that at all? That formed no part, no mention was made of that in the 2020 election campaign. Because remember, Kamala told us sunlight would kill COVID-19, and it would kill Rowley 2020. Remember she said that? Well, both COVID-19 and Rowley still alive. Both of them. COVID doing very well, as we could see with the numbers, and Dr. Rowley too. But I come back to the article. Al-Rawi said the question was inaccurate and based on a false position. The state took no decision to end the Malcolm Jones matter. The company, Petrotrin, upon receiving advice from, and here it is, and this is what the illiterati don't talk about. They don't talk about this whenever they raise this issue of Malcolm Jones. This is the part they don't talk about. The company, Petrotrin, receiving advice from attorneys at law, including Gerald Ramdeen, Vincent Nelson, Varun Debedine, where they confessed that they were in a difficult position for a badly organized case, lacking evidence, and where there was a material non-disclosure of critical witness statements, which effectively pulled the rug out of the litigation. The state company, Petrotrin, took the decision. This was, in effect, a suppression of evidence. If the names Gerald Ramdeen, and Varun Debadine sound familiar? It is because those are the two names, the two prominent names in the Prison Gate affair. One of the few gates that the Commissioner of Police promised that he would have closed prior to the 2020 election that is still wide open. Why? I don't know. Because we are in 2021, and in October of 2014, the lead officer who was in charge of that investigation, ASP Noon, who by now has probably retired, indicated that the investigation in that matter was drawing near to a close, and that a decision with respect to the laying of charges would have been made very soon. That was 2014. We are now in 2021. Almost 7 years later, that gate's still open. To me, it should have been one of the easier gates to close. But I continue. He said witness statements were not presented to Queen's Counsel, and when they were forced into open exposure by an application from Jones's team, Petrotrin was compelled. On the disclosure, Al-Rawi said Petrotrin had been instructed to disclose the statements. In fact, I have gone so far as to obtain the statements myself so that I can ensure that this is to be disclosed, and that will be anchored in law when we come on Monday to debate an amendment to the Freedom of the Information Act, so that the state can discharge its responsibility in fashion that it ought to. The Privy Council had ruled that UNC activist Ravi Balgobin Maraj could file judicial review proceedings seeking disclosure of documents related to Petrotrin's failed gas to liquids project. At a post-cabinet media conference 2 weeks ago, Dr. Rowley said Petrotrin had been instructed to release the documents. Charles yesterday asked why it took 2 weeks before the witness statements were released. Al-Rawi replied that the Companies Act is the law, and Section 60 dictates that a company cannot abdicate its responsibility and pass off the litigation management to another entity. You hear that, Mr. Pinal? Let me read it again for you. Al-Rawi replied, the Companies Act is the law, and Section 60 dictates that a company cannot abdicate its responsibility and pass off the litigation management to another entity. Meaning Petrotrin cannot pass off the management of the litigation to the Attorney General's office, as was done in the case of Anand Ramlogan. But I read further. He said Petrotrin, under the UNC, in agreeing to let former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan manage the litigation, broke the laws of TNT. That is a serious breach of the laws of TNT, which puts the directors of Petrotrin in jeopardy of Section 99 of the Companies Act. To take the advice of Naparima with regards to the law is consistent with the bad advice that UNC operated under. You heard that, Mr. Pina? Under the Companies Act, it is against the law for the Attorney General to assume himself into that case. He cannot, as was done by the Attorney General for the party that you support, take over that litigation, because he too would be in breach of the law. But we know breaches of the law was a normal thing under the UNC People's Partnership, so it had no big thing there. And we asked the question, why was Mr. Ramlogan so interested in this particular matter? Why did he feel the need for the Office of the Attorney General to take over the litigation in this matter? So we see now that the legal team, which Faris Al-Rawi retained, the legal team that was appointed by Ramlogan and retained by Faris Al-Rawi when he became Attorney General, comprised who? Varun Debadine and Gerald Ramdeen, who, after the release of the witness statements to QC Vincent Nelson and the other attorneys, a decision was taken to drop the case against Malcolm Jones. You all saw Gerald Ramdeen hold any press conference when the decision was taken to drop that case against Malcolm Jones to say, I object. In the same way we see now Senior Counsel Deborah Peake is advising Petrotrin to appeal the decision of the arbitration tribunal, to appeal it in the High Court, because she's of the view that there were certain errors that were made on the part of the panel, but that all of that would be dealt with in the High Court should the matter go there. So in the same way, we see that she could have come out and said, well, look, I don't support the outcome of that matter, and I am encouraging my client, Petrotrin, to appeal the matter in the High Court. How come Gerald Ramdeen didn't come out and say, I disagree with the decision to drop the case against Malcolm Jones? How come he didn't say that? No press conference, he didn't come in the parliament to say, I objected. So therefore, the assumption is that there was consent on his part, right? But how come the literati don't talk about that to tell us that Gerald Ramley was one of the attorneys who advised Petrotrin to drop the case? Nah, they're not interested in talking about that. No, just present one narrative. So I hope Mr. Pinal is listening. Or if he isn't, one of you will probably tell him the next time he calls in as to why it is, and to answer his question as to how come nobody not saying if the Attorney General could have do this and could have do that. He can't. Because to do so would be a contravention of the law, the Companies Act. So I hope you got that, Mr. Pina. But to the main point, this growing trend of the leader of the opposition, you see, she needs to understand not everybody operates like the UNC. Not everything for everybody is about money. Deborah Peake has integrity, as evidenced by her decision not to advise her client, Petrotrin. And I draw reference to the fact that she made the point that she's advising her client, Petrotrin, not the government of Trinidad and Tobago, not the Attorney General, her client, Petrotrin. So the decision is to be made by whom? Petrotrin. So what does that say? Petrotrin is still an entity. So whenever they sing in the song about the government closed down Petrotrin and they closed down Petrotrin, if they close down Petrotrin, how can Petrotrin advise and hire attorneys? How can Petrotrin advise? How is Deborah Peake advising Petrotrin if Petrotrin no longer exists? How? Think. That's very difficult for some of you all to do in the UNC. I understand that. But talk to your leader. Because she needs to understand you cannot go around impugning people's integrity. Because they imply that the AG threw the case and that he withheld evidence, as we just read there, may very well have been the case with her Attorney General, is to impugn the integrity of Mrs. Peake and the other attorneys representing Petrotrin. These are people who have a professional career, a long-standing career, that reads far better than yours, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. I'm sure it would probably take us less than 2 minutes to read the entirety of your legal career. As boring and uneventful as it has been, according to Mr. Pandey. Because when you decided to give yourself silk and he asked the question, what is Mrs. Prasad Bisesa's track record in the courthouse? What is it? How many big cases has she won? Albeit that she
and save with Green Dot. When you subscribe to any of our broadband packages, you get 30% off the installation fee, allowing you to stream your favorite shows on any of your devices. Update your social media accounts and connect with friends and family. Stay on top of the class with online learning sessions. Or keep your team in the loop with virtual meetings, all at an affordable price. This is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Call 224-G-DOT today to sign up and save with Green Dot, improving and simplifying lives.
Yeah, I think the ads are coming. Right. Yeah, Tiana, you could just mute your end and just do the
Life today, unlike yesterday. Friendship gone, feeling hate and scorn. Never living like stranger with never. No love, sir, for one another. So unite people as one and create a song. I hope it lives on from generation to generation. If you love soca music, singing oh, shanty oh, shanty shanty oh. You gotta sing this part. You know I don't know this part. I don't know this part. Burn 'em a da, burn 'em Shanty, oh.
Burn a mother, burn a man, ya. Burn a mother, say what she a take.
Oh, Shanty, oh.
Shanty, shanty, oh. Shanty, shanty.
Na 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 na. All you need to sing in Queen's all now. Sing. The people at home. I'll bring you back later, darling.
Thank you.
I find people like they forget how to get on for carnival, boy. Oh, let me dance and we see something.
Hey.
The people know at home. Oh my God. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you.
Oh, hey, hey, I'm giving away 90 people in a while. Oh, gee, where you get that sugar, darling? There is nothing sweeter. You make me scream, you make me fall, you make me feel like 10 feet tall. Start to sing, sugar, boom, sugar.
All on the line.
Now I'm gonna give you my version of Sugar Boom Boom, right? Audrey, I am very saddened. This year I can't get no loving. Up on the line, it's where you have to line. If you have to whine, I can jam you in real life. I'm Mr. Sugar Boom, Sugar Boom Boom. A Sugar Boom, Sugar Boom Boom. A Sugar Boom, Sugar Boom Boom. I want to sing this with me. Say, give me the boom boom, Audrey. Say, give me the. Say, give me the. Say, give me the.
Simpsons Memorial Limited, number 63 Eastern Main Road, Laventille. Internationally accredited funeral directors and embalmers. A full-service funeral home serving families of Trinidad and Tobago and internationally since 1945. At Simpsons Memorial Limited, we serve with dignity in assisting families in honoring the memory of their loved ones. Our services include professional funeral and pre-planning, burials and cremation, custom-built and imported caskets, coffins and cremation trays, cemetery management, limousines, mourners cars, grief counseling, web streaming of funerals, fully air-conditioned chapel with live musical accompaniment, full global shipping and receiving of loved ones. We specialize in facial restorations. Call us anytime, day or night, at 623-8688. That number again is 623-8688. Simpsons Memorial Limited. Superior service, always with excellence.
Take me to the king. I don't have much to bring. More to learn, yes it's true. Pennywise, just for you. So real, get that perfect smile. Beauty's in every eye. To take care of your body, we have all you need to stay healthy. Yeah, Pennywise, more to learn. Yes, it's true. Pennywise, just for you.
Pennywise gives you more to love.
Tune in to The Street 919 FM every Friday from 9:15 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. with Kingdom Health Services, situated at number 91 Eastern Main Road in St. Augustine. For the program, Health and Healing, merging the old with the new with Brent Diet. For more information, call 318-7471 or 484-0141 or 360-4100. It's all about Kingdom Health Services on The Street 919 FM.
At Health and Wealth Lifestyle, we offer a wide range of services: blood analysis, iridology, acupuncture, foot detox, foot massages, gua hot stone therapy, fire therapy, legs and feet massage therapy, mineral scrubs, acrotherapy, cupping.
We also have a wide variety of supplements, silver, zinc and magnesium, body light, and lots more.
We at Health and Wealth Lifestyle operate our business in a clean, safe, and comfortable environment. We frequently sanitize our compound and abide by all the COVID guidelines that are currently in place.
So come on down to Health and Wealth Lifestyle, where we treat you like family. Book your appointment today. Call us at 1-868-275-8359.
Or 1-868-288-1108.
And remember, your health is your wealth, and prevention is always better than medication.
Police, got it. Officer Best Price here. Johnny Q Auto Parts Division?
Yes, sir.
I'm here to investigate an assault on batteries.
Excuse me, sir?
Is it true? You have batteries selling for $488?
Yes. Power Master, Optima, Vata, and Megastar batteries.
So I could buy a battery for $488?
Yes, sir. For cars, trucks, and boats. Backed and distributed by Massey Automotive.
Which part?
Right here at Johnny Q Hardware and Auto Parts Division, 15 Arrowpeter Avenue, Woodbrook. And our new Johnny Q Superstore, located at Lowlands Mall off Claude Highway in Tobago. You could call 60 Tools.
Alright, thanks boss. Nah man. Granny,
Do you have $488 to lend me?
Hi, what's up, TNT? This is Wayne Johnson out of Brooklyn, New York. I always wanted to do something back home, and we're going to be doing our gospel segment on Mondays from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. That's 10 p.m. to 12 midnight on 91.9 FM. Listen what I want you to do. Spread the word. Spread the word, TNT. Salvation, full and free. Salvation is for everybody. Mondays from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. That's 10 p.m. to 12 midnight on 91.9 FM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Dana? Yeah, you'll have to take the call, so man. Yeah. Right, so welcome back, folks. As I would have indicated to you before we would have started today, again, because of the shortage of time, the late start, I would not have been able to discuss all of the matters that I wanted to with respect to that AV drilling. So I will be doing so during the course of the show next week. So it's already 12:05, so we'll open the lines and we'll take some of your calls. I know everybody home, lockdown, so yeah. See who we have.
Pleasant good morning, you're live.
Hi, good morning. Hello. 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 Hello.
Okay, caller, you can try again. You can try 342-0081, 771-1791, or 466-5391.
Hello.
Pleasant good morning, you're live.
Morning, ma'am.
My financial guru morning, and to all the listeners. Happy Father's Day to each and all. Manu, everybody. Bruce Wayne, everybody. Morning. Mr. Landy in Tobago. Let me go down like that. Dominic, what we fail to understand, or not we, I feel the issue is the honorable, they call her honorable. Yes, she was honorable in what she did. It come like they're trying to pull the same story with. Anyhow, by releasing the document in the public, the remaining evidence, because the completion of the evidence that she released, that document wasn't completed. That was a halfway report. So the remaining evidence that the Petrotrin might have been able to gather without she releasing that first piece of evidence would have been the piece that it was able to take to court, from what I gathered. So by she doing that, Petrotrin had was to stop the investigation into what matter was going on and immediately take AV Drilling to court. That is what transpired there. So they could only take them to court based on the piece of information that she released in the public domain. So by her, she put the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago in a debt. How much it is? $1 billion?
Yes.
$1 billion. She put the citizens in by just doing what she did and making a man, if the allegation that was made against him is true, get away. Enjoy the day.
Again, similar thing that was done with respect to the live sport audit report, where she laid it in the parliament before the persons who, the claimants in the matter, had an opportunity to respond to the contents and what happened with that. Well, history will bear it out.
Pleasant good afternoon. You're live.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon to Dominic. Yeah. Just want to wish
good day, sir.
The fathers and a happy Father's Day. Dominic, you hear me, right?
Yes, he can.
All right. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Watching all the situation, I'm noticing that the media deliberately doing a blackout. I noticed that I was looking out for certain cases on, news from Friday and Saturday about the same thing with the Single and trafficking with the AV children, and I noticed that that deafening silence in certain media houses. I noticed that they're very quiet about this whole thing. Also, would make it very interesting too. The intellectuals like Mr. Winfred James, Mr. Dumas, Vishnu Ragan, and all those so-called intellectuals who does normally talk about certain issues. You know, when they talk to, when the Prime Minister make utterances, or his ministers make utterances, they're very silent on this whole issue. I don't know if Dominic noticed that whole thing, but it is rather unfortunate, and this is show you that this country, particularly media, is very biased, right? So I just want to encourage Dominic and them to continue with this thing, because there's a total blackout. I didn't even hear about the so-called case with Mr. Jerry Ramdin and Mr. Anna Logan on the news too. It's a total blackout. You have a good day.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, sir. We have another caller, Tiana.
Pleasant good afternoon. You're live.
Hello, good afternoon to everybody. Nation, happy Father's Day.
Good afternoon,
to all the Father's Day, Dominic. Happy Father's Day to everybody.
And to all Father's Day.
Strength and blessings to everybody. You know, the part of this thing that I can't deal with is the destroying of lives partner, boy. Eric Williams, Franklin Khan, you know. It's like you're on a rule. It's like, I really call to say that if anything that or anyone could be called to resign for, it's this one. I really believe the UNC themselves should call for the resignation of Kamala Prasad, which we may have to look over the hills to the north to see a pink donkey with wings before that happened. But think about how, and what drives the nail, what icing take for me is when she confidently questioning the AG. That, to me, that embarrassing, it bring down the noble profession of being a lawyer. Well, there's a self-proclaimed SC, but oh my God, nobody ain't saying anything about this. The Law Association ain't saying anything about this. I find that this too, if not the whole situation and the money that we had to put out, which we cannot afford, and Mr. Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj insisting that it don't make any sense to appeal, they might sink themselves down further into a hole. I just find that preamble in terms of coming out and having a meeting or going up on our pulpit or coming into the public and questioning the AG. Community don't find that real off solely, and the AG simply just has to reply, but we don't have nothing to do with that. How I find that real embarrassing, and it would Alina to resign because she on a roll, and I think people need to start a call for her resignation because it's not making any sense. Everything that you're doing, it's out in the open, it's not surreptitious, it's not under loans. Have a good day, gentlemen. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you. Right, so I'm just seeing on the YouTube, we have John Smith who is asking, after 1 month of lockdown, look at the stats and saying it doesn't look good for Dr. Rowley. I too am looking at the stats, John Smith, and you see, the problem is when we suffer from myopia, and the only statistics that we choose to look on or to look at every day when that release comes out just after 4 o'clock, between 4 and 5 there, is the number of deaths and the number of new cases. If you have been listening to the COVID press briefings, and you've been listening to Dr. Hines and some of the other doctors, you would see that had it not been for the lockdown and other interventions by this government, we might have very well been seeing daily numbers in terms of new infections, probably in the range of 700 to 800, as was the case in Jamaica earlier on this year, where they saw about 2 or 3 weeks sustained every day, 700, 800, to the tune now that Jamaica's death toll is well over 1,000 persons dead. If you look at Taiwan, on the 15th of May, Taiwan had 12 deaths. As of this morning, that figure now stands at 523 deaths. They had just under 1,200 total cases for the 15-month period up to the 15th of May. As of this morning, there are over 14,000 new cases. Taiwan, which was one of the success stories for COVID. You see what's happening there? That's a developed country. Our death toll is still under 700. Well, under 800. But had it not been for the lockdown and other interventions, you know what would have happened? It could have been very well much higher than that. So also, when the release comes out this afternoon, I'm going to tell you what to look at as well. Look at the number of persons who have received at least one jab, over 170,000. Look at the number of persons who are fully inoculated now. And look at the number of total active cases, which is under 10,000. And look at the daily amount of persons who are being released and persons who are recovering. So don't just look at two numbers and say those stats are an indictment on the government. Look at the whole picture. Go ahead, Tiana.
Pleasant good afternoon, you're live.
Good afternoon to my brother Dominic.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Brother Dominic.
Yes, sir. I hear you.
Yeah, brother Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. And my brother.
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, okay. First thing I want to ask you is that Friday gone, did Logan and Ramdeen enter the courthouse?
I don't know. I have not seen anything.
To see if I hear anything, and I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything.
If they did not enter the courthouse, and you see all that Kamla Prasad Bisasa is doing, these two men that is facing the court, that is Kamla Prasad Bisasa and the UNC biggest problem in this country. They don't care about nothing else. These two men, if they bring in these two men guilty, when they bring them in guilty, then she will know where Bali go or where it don't go. Because she was the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So she's saying all sorts of things. Dr. Will doing everything wrong. Everything he's doing is wrong. Because you know why? She don't want to go the right road. And she have fear for these two men. But I'm looking at the media, you know. Because if the media hadn't published that, you see me, years now I stop buying papers. Because I say I cannot buy no news that is lying to me. I can't spend my money there. And that's why they continue doing it, because Trinidadians is so stupid. We're not getting the news. They're hiding what they want to hide. Well, leave them there. Leave them right there. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Pleasant good morning, you're live. Sorry, good afternoon.
Hello, good morning. Yes, the case with Ramnugan and Ram, it's put off. You understand? But what I want to tell you is some of them calling to Mariano Brown some other time. And what he told them is Malcolm Jones did not keep any money from Petrochin. You understand? But I couldn't remember it is a penal or so. But he didn't ask any question again. But Malcolm Jones, the case put off till next week or next month.
Okay. Thanks for that update, caller. And let me just make this point before we take the next call with respect to that Malcolm Jones affair. And I continue to wait to see if the UNC will ever resurrect that matter. That Malcolm Jones was the chairman of Petrotrin. He was the chairman of a board. And he could not have made any decisions with respect to the expenditure of that quantum of money on his own. That was a board decision. And the very same Companies Act that I alluded to just now, where the Attorney General would have made the point as to why it is he cannot and ought not to intervene in that whole affair between Petrotrin and AV Drilling or Petrotrin or any other state company for that matter in their litigation. That very same Companies Act speaks to the role and functions and the fiduciary responsibilities of members of the board. And Malcolm Jones, again, could not have made that decision on his own. So I have always been baffled and bewildered as to why it is the UNC chose to sue Malcolm Jones alone and not the board of Petrotrin, but then they sued the board of ETEC with respect to the $5 million US and the whole Bamboo Investment Limited thing, that deal that went sour. They sued the entire board of ETEC. So why didn't you sue the entire board of Petrotrin instead of going after Malcolm Jones? So the mere fact that they went after Malcolm Jones alone would have been sufficient grounds for that case to be thrown out, because he would not have made that decision on his own, as was evidenced by the two witness statements of Chantak and Batiste, which the UNC went to the Privy Council to get, which they got, and again, up to today, they have made no further pronouncements on that. I rest my case.
Pleasant good afternoon, you're live.
Pleasant good afternoon to you, my dear. Good afternoon to you, Dominic.
Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Dominic.
Greetings.
Hello?
Yeah, Brian.
Hello, Dominic. You're hearing?
Yes, he can hear you.
Right. Hi. Pleasant good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon,
Dominic. Good afternoon to all your listeners and callers of 91.9. And happy Father's Day to all fathers of Trinidad and Tobago. Dominic, let me tell you this, huh? Prasad Bisesa has gone too far. This is not the first, second, third, or fourth time this lady has done this to the professionals of Trinidad and Tobago. She has a habit of doing it. She first did it to Basdeo Pandey to get him kicked out of the UNC, the founder of the UNC, if you recall, back in the day. And then she came and, she, as one of your callers said, she wrongfully accused Franklin Kahn and Eric Williams until they were exonerated. Where is Eric Williams today? Halfway around the world. Franklin Kahn, I'm almost certain would have played an important part on his well-being. He might have been alive today. You understand? Then she goes back again at Malcolm Jones. The man is dead and gone. But she goes back again at Malcolm Jones. And in this one, this AV Drilling, she accuses her accusations and waving this piece of paper. And then she brings it to Parliament and relates it in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. And somehow wants to align the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, because Dr. Rowley says he's an acquaintance, he knows the gentleman. Dr. Rowley at that time was in California when all of this broke out. And he made a comment from there. His first comment came from there. You understand? And then when he came back to Trinidad, he made further comments on it. And she continues to do this. But what is worse about this whole thing, I'm going to tell you, I have always said, talk about, you could say what you want about me, but when you attack my business that I work hard to develop and my children, then we're going to have problems. You remember that Mr. Bass of AB Drilling, his daughter was a senator under the PNM in the parliament, in the upper house, and she had to leave. When all of this broke out, she had to resign because of shame and disgrace, with her family's name being bandied about in this scandal, alleged scandal which was alleged by Kamala Prasad Visesa. And where you see he has won this case through the arbitrators, where a lot of money has to be forked out, he is going to demand severe damages, not only for his business, but for his daughter, who was a senator. And that is where, if it is not appealed, that is where a lot of money is going to have to be paid out, because you can't be go about damaging people. And I hope he sues Kamala Prasad Visesa and all those concerned, sue this woman for all she is worth, because this has to stop and she has to be stopped. It has to. Where is David Abdullah? What does he have to say about it? Where are all of these people who normally get on and make comments on all sorts of things pertaining to the government, but nothing at all when it comes to Prasad Visesa? And even when the letter was written and it was alleged that there was some linkage of some account in Miami with Keith Rowley, and they say it's not that Keith Rowley, it's this Keith Rowley, and all sorts of things with AB Drilling. All that proved to be untrue. These people have to be sued. That was when Oropuch East made that, insinuated that. And these people have to be sued for all that they are worth. This cannot continue like this. Who is next? Who is next? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. And just to follow up on Brian's contribution, and I would ask the question, I think somebody else would have asked it before, where is the law association? You see, when the last time, the other day, when Dr. Rowley was speaking and he made reference to certain attorneys as being bottom feeders, the law association was quick to jump out itself and condemn the statement and so on. But here it is that you have the leader of the opposition and implying that the titular head of the bar, the Attorney General, may have withheld evidence or may have deliberately thrown the arbitration case. So she's accusing him of actions that could result in him being disbarred. But by extension, in order for that to have happened, because the Attorney General did not appear before the tribunal, it is the attorneys representing Petrotron who would have done so. Again, I mentioned the name Deborah Peake and the other attorneys. So if you are implying as an attorney that your colleagues may have been engaged, colluded with the Attorney General to engage in conduct that could cause them to be disbarred or perhaps even face a criminal case, that is a very, very serious accusation and allegation to make. But yet still, the Law Association to date have said nothing. They have not put out any press release to condemn Mrs. Prasad Visesa's allegation. Nothing of the sort. One of their prominent members has been accused, at least two of them have been accused of possible malfeasance in office. And you have nothing to say, but the Prime Minister came out and called out some of the greedy members of your profession as bottom feeders, and you wanted to rake him over the coals. How people see what really taking place there. Continue.
Pleasant good afternoon, you're live.
Hello, one other point I wanted to make. The Labor Day speech by the goodly gentleman. I was wondering if these people understand it's a time of a pandemic, and he made no mention at all, an oil person that you are, of that AV scandal. You know. He made no mention of it at all. I just took note of that. And I am wondering, what is the purpose of these people? We are in a pandemic, and your Labor Day speech. What I want to suggest, Dominic, that the government also supposed to make pronouncements on Labor Day. Remember, we just always say that, this government low in PR and stuff like that. I think it should be part of the tradition for the government, because that speech was very depressing. He pointed out nothing good. apparently like it have nothing good going on in the country, and he made no mention of this failed attempt. Well, successful as far as Ms. Kamla Prasad is concerned, because she's the career ruiner as far as I'm concerned, and yes. He made no mention of it. So there's another person to call out to, as far as I'm concerned. Thanks.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Kola. I heard a significant portion of Mr. Roger's speech, his Labor Day speech this morning, and I intend to speak to it in the coming days.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Hello, pleasant good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you live.
Yeah, all right, let me just say, Dominic, apart from the so-called law association, what is the voice of fixing TNT, Kirkweek, Transparency International, Mr. Winford Jim, the political analyst who has talked a lot about the situation? Bishop Ragnarnat, the Toledo lawyer, Martin George, they're supposed to weigh on this matter too. The only person who would talk about it was probably Mr. Ralph Maraj. You see how the deafness silence is terrible, and this is just tripping us with the COVID-19. I think, like I said again, Dr. Rowley is trying his best with the people, and when gratefulness is loose and witchcraft. Like people not realizing that this is a worldwide problem. We have a problem here too, but it's around the world as well. You have a good day.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Yes, good afternoon to you. I'm going to say good afternoon to my good friend Dominic, former chairman of the IFP. Dominic, I wanted you to know, and all your PNM followers and fanatics, Kamala did no wrong. Kamala has nothing to apologize for, and she will not be apologizing. She have court closed, and she have enough money to fight in the court. So we tell Ramesh and all of the PNM, bring it on. Kamala did no wrong, and no one in this country will be jumping Kamala to apologize or to make no statement. We want to know how a serious case like this was going on and the train was closed down. How? Dr. Rowley, because he is the first man called his friend. He never called the commissioner police. He never called the minister energy. He never called the minister of everything, Stuart Young, because Stuart Young is still the minister of national security. He never called Stuart Young. So when Oya start to come to put a blame and to make a mother, the mother of this nation look bad, I have to say this is madness. Where Kamala Prasad, Mrs. never make no allegation, she never libel and so on. She got the information in his mailbox. That's how Dr. Rowley got the email, and she went and read it out. And Peter Chen pick up the case. And if Peter Chen did not know the case couldn't stand, why Peter Chen cried the court? And the question you have to ask, we are linking the link. Why Dr. Rowley personal lawyer on the board? You can answer that? Why Dr. Rowley personal lawyer? We said bring it on. We said bring it on. We tell Ramesh bring it on. Because Ramesh have a banker. He cannot be attorney general again, and he will never be a UNC again. If Ramesh have a banker, it does this. But the political leader of the UNC has nothing to answer. She innocent and you know something? To see but I know them coming with allegation upon Kamala Prasad, nothing at all. But the truth will unveil. The only so we could know about the real deal about A&V and Prechen is having a new government there. We could know. And when we will lock up Rowdy and we will lock up all of Europeans, because it cannot be so unfair to the lady, because if Dr. Rowdy say he got an email in his mailbox, the lady can the same thing. And she asks questions. She never say A&V thief and all. She never say A&V that. Show me the tape where Kamala Prasad Bisasa, the mother of the nation, said that ANV was Stephen Hall, and then she asked questions, brother. So that is my case. The leader, and I speak for Kamala Prasad Bisasa today. She is not apologizing. We say bring it on, brother. Stop talking. With the letter, she has clothes and she has plenty money to take all it down. Bring it on. Stop talking. Thank you very much.
Right. So I will ask you, Kingsley. When Carolyn C. Prasad Beechon was Minister of Energy, she in fact I believe was the first Minister of Energy for the People's Partnership Government. In the wake of the AV drilling matter, she came out and she said that as Minister of Energy from 2010 to 2011, she saw several internal audit reports from Petrotrin showing issues of possible contractors engaging in that type of activity, where they were reporting a certain amount of oil, but they weren't delivering that and so on. She saw several internal audit reports coming over the years, from previous years. And she was so concerned by that she called in the board of Petrotrin and she held a meeting with the board of Petrotrin on that matter. What was the outcome of that meeting with the board of Petrotrin? What decisions were taken? And who were the other contractors that were identified in those other internal audit reports that Carolyn C. Prasad Beechon is on record? In fact, I'll pull up the Newsday article where she said she saw that. And then Kevin Ravnarine, who would have succeeded her, claimed that when he came in as minister, he never saw anything, no report, nothing about fake oil. So she see it. He didn't see it. Who lying? Dr. Rowley took blame last week for that whole thing with respect to people going and line up to get vaccines and so on. The buck stops with him as the prime minister. The buck there stopped with Kamala Prasad Bisasa. Why was Carolyn C. Prasad Beechon removed as Minister of Energy and replaced by Kevin Ravnarine? Tell us that. Since you can answer for Kamala and she have none to apologize for, answer that for her now. Why was Carolyn C. Prasad Beechon removed? And what happened? What was the outcome of that meeting and what decisions were taken? Because this was 2011, AV drilling was 2017. If Carolyn C. Prasad Beechon and the PP had done their job then, right, then there might never have been an AV drilling. So explain that to me. Please.
Pleasant good afternoon, you're live.
Good afternoon. I don't know the name, I just seen the lady, but good afternoon to Dominic also.
Good afternoon, sir.
I was telling you something. That was Kingsley was talking to Dominic. Dominic?
Yes, it was.
That was Kingsley?
Yeah, that was Kingsley.
I can't believe that Kingsley. This is a man right here talk of before I turn the Sean and so on and saying that how months are wrong that the UNC doing this life and how they're coming after him. Like he gets some kind of money. He has some kind of thing. Had a one. This man can be talking and talking once and nonsense. You know, let me tell you something. Something wrong with them so when they're going to UNC. Anytime they tell about the UNC, like they get too fish. They're so out at timing, stupidness, they see no wrong. Kamala could be more than a nation. Tell them, you know, they can't crazy way the money twice. This man could talk this and this woman was all about saying that Dr. Rowley and fake oil. The Kamala and how we name Munilal. One of the things they might be studying about things, you know, things only pushing up itself. They might have time to see and nonsense. He can't even talk for them. He only talking about nonsense and making himself feel that they're there like he to start with the color that they really want to see. The only pushing up because they don't like that color. They just start with because that is how they operate. They like to call people black in that party. I was a part of that party. I knew he's talking about and Kamala Prasad said the one who pushed that right to. She deliberately go into that with a report that they finished and started all about because she always busting up some mouth all about things he's talking about your money and money that they steal from this country. That way he said go and talk about it. This is a man who was condemning Kamala. I don't know something wrong with you gone. And anyhow, there's a very research when they're going in that house, you know. According to you, I'm still going to travel and you know, how does it come in this thing? They're talking about that group, it's not true.
Thank you very much, sir. And let me just read this last paragraph from this article that I mentioned, right? This is a Newsday article dated Friday, 15th of September, 2017. It's entitled, Ram Narayan, no fake oil under my watch. And I'm just quoting Carolyn Sipasad Bechan. However, another one of the UNC's former energy ministers, Carolyn Sipasad Bechan, is on record as saying that the overstatement of fiscalized crude oil production by lease operators to Petrotrin is a recurring problem. She said various audit reports over the years have pointed to that fact, and in 2010, her ministry engaged Petrotrin in discussions with a view to addressing this critical issue. 2010, AV was 2017. What happened in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, Kingsley? What did Ms. Sipasad Bechan do? What did Kevin Ramnarayan do? Because he said he saw no reports. She said she did. Again, I asked the question, who lying? Somebody lying, because both of them were sitting in the same office, in the same chair. She said, I saw the reports. He said, I saw nothing. Somebody lying.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Yes, good afternoon again to my brother Dominic. How do
Yes, sir.
I hear Kingsley with the kind of thing? Kingsley talking for Kamala Prasad, this, sir. If she was a prime minister, she could talk for herself. And one good thing and one truthful thing that Kingsley say, she have court closed and she have plenty money that she could not have answered for in this country because $500 million in cotton note did not come back into the treasury. So he's lying with that point. So he make it clear that she have plenty money. I don't know how you know it, but that's what he tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the world. Why are you talking for this woman? I call her she mother of the nation. If that your mother, say that is your mother. You can put a mother on a nation. You fast another place, the donkey blood have in you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And then I'll throw another question out there for Kingsley as well. Aside, after AV drilling happened, right? Because remember, Kamala and the UNC so concerned about Petrotrin and public monies and so on. You remember there was another story about a contractor who had fake compartments under his diesel trucks and he was stealing millions of dollars in diesel over 17 years, it is alleged. In fact, the total quantum of money that, in terms of the value of diesel stolen, was expected, or it was estimated to be about 3 times the amount of money that AV was accused of. So we're talking over $300 million worth of diesel stolen. How come? And the only thing Kamala had to say on that, she mentioned it one time. She said, I see, first we had fake oil, now we have fake diesel. But we will see how that goes. That was the sum total of what she had. But she was so concerned about AV drilling and fake oil. And here we have another allegation of another contractor stealing, allegedly, at least 3 times the amount that AV was accused of. And all Mrs. Prasad Bisesa had to say on that was, we had fake oil and now we have fake diesel. Why the lack of interest? If she's so concerned about the well-being of Petrotrin, you should have put the same degree of concern and the same spotlight on that matter. She didn't. But she's so concerned about the country. And answer that one for me now. We proceed. Three 342-0081.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Hello, good afternoon. I want Kingsley to know, it's on the Monday night forum, she ended up telling them that lie, that she knows nothing about it. But it's only Thursday Ramesh Lawrence talk. You understand? So that is what we're doing. After that, she ain't saying nothing yet.
I just be dropping nuggets, Kingsley. Come. I asked you a question at the start. I called out yourself, Penal, Grad Christopher, Central, any of the other listeners, right? Tell us the 2 witness statements from Chantak and Batiste that you all told us for more than a year would prove that the decision to stop the Malcolm Jones case was political. You all got that 2 years ago. How come the UNC has not said anything further? They went silent after that. And some of that now, bossman. Please answer that. You are the spokesman for the UNC.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon again. Dominic, that contractor was Guru Singh. And that matter is still under investigation. You understand? It is alleged that he was making over $5 million a year. Free money because of those hidden compartments. Right? There's reports out for that. And the reason why Kamla Prasad Bisesa allegedly went after AB Drilling was because when she asked for party financing, he refused her. You understand? And because she was of the view, well, you're refusing me because you're in bed with the PNM. That is why she did what she did. That's one of the reasons, I should say, why she did what she did. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Hello, good evening. Dominic.
Hi, good afternoon.
Happy Father's Day to you. And Bruce Wayne, happy Father's Day to you wherever you are. And all the rest of the fathers of Trinidad and Tobago and the world, happy Father's Day to you all. And my Prime Minister, I'll give you a special Father's Day today for you. You live to see many, many. Okay? Have a blessed day. All right. Dominic, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Good afternoon to you, Dominic.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to your co-host, to the listeners 919. Happy Father's Day to all the daddies, Trinidad home and home. Dominic, one of the things that I would like you to do for me, please, when Mr. Kingsley, I call him name, Kingsley, comes on. He comes on to shock and disorganize the program. Well, I want to tell Mr. Kingsley, it's not only Kamla had to answer. He has to also answer to me and apologize because he would also have to go to the court. Dominic, imagine this man come on the radio and saying that for us then used to pay to talk for the PNM. You imagine that? This man is a conceived liar. And I'm not taking that very easy, and you know that. And IWER George and them don't get the message. I'm not making joke with that. I want to remind them that I talk so hard was to apologize to me openly on a radio. Whenever these people and them come on, if you see him big, I got to body can't recognize it. But he come on the radio to contest with you. He wasn't in for bunch of callers that he had on radio, but he claimed he's king on the radio. And everything with a second nonsense because, oh, he's defending and we, and who we. Okay, he, the authority to defend the UNC. But then you would have to face the court for lying on people for the UNC. Dominic, Mr. Pinal, do me a favor, whenever they come in, ask them questions. Follow like the rest of the radio station. In a radio station, they can just open them out as soon as they come, they say yes. We want to hear this. Why, Miss Professor, don't challenge Ramesh Lawrence Moraes? Kingsley, I want to hear that. And thank you, Mr. Wendell Eversley, a true icon of Trinidad and Tobago. I know how you're feeling when the opposition leader could make reference of the 1990 attempted coup in Trinidad and Tobago. You hear that, Kingsley? This is fuck, Kingsley. Kingsley, this is not getting like you know. And you're always on the radio talking one set of foolishness for you defending Kamala. Why didn't you tell her to apologize to the wicked racial remarks of our people?
You know what has come back to them fellas and them? When they come on the radio, they have no shame, you know. I could tell Miss McDonald, thank you for writing my resume and getting that job for me. I am so happy that you was able to have me talking all over the place today. And good day to you, my dear darling. Have a blessed one. Dominic, I think I have said enough about King Liar. So I will give somebody else a chance who knows about radio, who don't lie on people, who don't imitate people. The Gladiator was proud, and he called himself Monica. Jack Warner was, oh my gosh. And you could go on and on for a fairness. Thank you very much for allowing me this contribution. You know why, Dominic? Because I was brought up in a house of truth and ethics and manners. Never copy nobody. You are the copy people will try, and oh my gosh. And oh, you go expose people. You could expose anybody. You never supported David Mohammed and then with a fundraising because you say you're afraid to kill him. You attack Anderson and want to kill Anderson. Well, let me tell you about Anderson. Anderson, as much as he may not be a supporter of the government, he never disrespected to people like me. And he went to a school of manners and ethics and facts. Richfield Street. What school you went to? The School of Liars? Dominic, thank you very much for allowing me this contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good day,
sir.
Mr. Dominic. Happy Father's Day to you first, and my young lady. Good day. Dominic, I'm so happy that you let that gentleman from up Lavantis empty his bowels just now. And when you're living in glass house, you put us call you know. And that is the man go pull she long. So she have plenty money. And she have plenty clothes. So he could make that statement for she. He know she have plenty money. That is why somebody had to make she pay for the wickedness that she trying to do Trinidad and Tobago. Because she have plenty clothes and she have plenty money. Dominic, you have a nice afternoon. Enjoy your Father's Day, young lady. You too, but you enjoy the same day too with Dominic. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Maybe ads will be coming up very soon, so we may have time for one more quick one. 3420081. Yeah.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Good day. Hello?
Good afternoon. You're live.
Good afternoon. Pleasant day to you, Dominic, and to all the fathers of the nation.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Hello?
Good afternoon. He's hearing you. He's replying. You can go ahead.
Yes, Dominic. Good afternoon. Pleasant day to all the fathers of the nation. Dominic?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Hello? Okay.
What's going on?
Dominic, one question for you, brother. Kingsley and Mr. Pinal do not function well under pressure. Why don't you speak to them while they're on air? Why do you not question them while they are on air? Thank you.
Thank you. I would have engaged him, but it seems we have a little delay.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone on the station there.
Afternoon.
I would like to say that what I see going on is that this woman, Miss Bissessa, she and her cronies and them, what they are doing is just throwing gas all over this nation road and only waiting for someone to light it. Only to say, I didn't tell them to do that. I hope when the day comes, they will accept all the things that they do. Thank you.
Pleasant good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Again, you see now, any allegation people are making against this lady, but I'm calling to say that how Kamala went by rowdy friend, bestie friend for finance for the party. How you know that? You know that? You know that I'm supposed to say a word in a contribution and I catch you. I have it on tape. I catch you. I ain't telling you what to say. But you say something and they want it to say for the longest while. I catch you. That's all I will tell you. You, Dominic, have a good day and you continue doing what you are doing, brother. And God bless you. And sister, you do have a nice day. And Kamala Prasad Bissessa remain the mother of the nation because none of you cannot point finger at Kamala Prasad Bissessa. None of you who calling me this morning here. Thank you very much.
Well, the ads coming up, Tiana.
Pleasant good afternoon. You're live.
Good afternoon. Dominic, I would like to wish you a happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
And God bless you and keep you. Well, I'm here to talk about Kamala and Kingsley. First, Kamala, I feel she may be walk over on Kingsley. And that why he's very chopped bad, he chopped real bad. To defend she. I'm sure whether she should be laughing behind his back. Because he's chopped bad, he's a Johnson Jones. Later.
Well, the views expressed are not the views of the Street 919 FM. And I would just tell Kingsley that while he would say none of us could point fingers, Mr. Warner would have pointed many fingers at Mrs. Prasad Bissessa in the lead up to the 2015 general election. A whole host of allegations, all of which she promised that she would release an avalanche of lawsuits after the 2015 election. Where is that avalanche? All we got was a snowflake. Still waiting for the avalanche, eh? So remember, you and Mr. Warner were like ring on finger once upon a time. So don't forget, he pointed fingers. So she still had an answer to all of that. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and the rest of your Father's Day. I accept all the greetings. I'm not a father, but I will still take it. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. So thank you again. And I will chat with you all on Tuesday.
Thank you, Dominic. Have a wonderful afternoon.
You too.
Are you experiencing loss of vision or are your glasses broken? At Value Optical, we're open and we're here to help.